Trina, hey girl, hey, Lavon, blessings. Bring up YouTube. I might need to do some cleanup. It's kind of slow. Yeah, I definitely need to go through here. Okay. Robert, that's horrible, that's horrible. Alright, babe. Love you too. You two taking it. Okay, there we go. Tiffany, hey. Okay, y'all. We live in both places now. YouTube and stuff. It was moving a little bit slow. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Anybody see the new moon? Anybody? I didn't see it. And I checked the reports, and no reports have come in. Shayla, the 12 Great Rising. No reports have come in yet, right? Okay, so for those of you who have been using the World's Last Chance app, if you go in there, you will see that it says that it's, thank you, yeah, then you will see what I be talking about. Like it's accurate, but not 100% accurate. And I noticed that this month it was going to probably be maybe a day or two off, right? And I know last time that I found that, I don't even think that they went and updated it, but everything else has been like on point. So that's why I said this is one of the reasons why we absolutely have to watch. Nobody saw it, right? Okay, so we keep watching tonight. So hopefully we'll see it tonight. Hallelujah, peace and blessings. So just wanted to say that earlier. So most likely she will show tonight, unless it's really cloudy where you live at. Then you gotta you gotta check the other sites where people are watching and posting. They listed the new moon as yesterday, but right, the apps did, but you will notice the apps that you looked at, they've been posted it. They didn't just post it. It's been posted for a while because of the data that was already put in. But for those who are watching, even over in Jerusalem, although they have it listed for Jerusalem to actually spot it on the 8th, they originally had it for us to spot it on the 7th and Jerusalem to spot it on the 8th. But we'll see. So because we haven't spotted it yet, Jerusalem probably won't spot it today. Well, when they spot it, it'll already be the 9th for them. So, but we should see it today. Somebody should see it today. Okay. No, we'll be here. It picks up the next week. So if you see it tonight, you won't be here tomorrow since it's a Sabbath. No, we will be here. It's not technically a Sabbath. Some people treat it that way, and although festivals are held, technically it's not, but some people kind of do, but we will be here. The Sabbath is, hold on, baby. Feast of Trumpets is a Sabbath? No. Look, I gotta go check Leviticus 23. I don't think Leviticus, hold on. Let me check myself. Auntie, shalom, hold on, y'all. Let me check. Hold on. Okay, it says no ordinary work. I gotta check it again myself. Thank you for bringing it up. Okay, let's see. Festival of Trumpets. Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. On the first day of the appointed month in early autumn, you are to observe. Oh, you're absolutely right. You're right. You are to observe a complete day of rest. It will be an official day for Holy Assembly, a day commemorated with loud blasts of a trumpet. You must do no ordinary work on that day. Instead, you are to present special gifts to Yahuwah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like, how did I forget that? I'm glad you brought it up. So then you'll be right. So we won't be here tomorrow. If we spot it tonight, then we won't be here tomorrow because it will be a day of rest. Somebody else asked me that yesterday too. I was like, no, I'm thinking the Feast of Trumpets. You know what? I think by default last year we rested anyway because we were just going to rest. Sorry, y'all. If I told anybody that it was a regular day, oh my gosh. I'm glad you said that, Dana. Thank you. It is. Feast of Trumpets. Yeah. See, but here, yeah. Look, hold on. Let's see that. Let me go back up. That's why we had to go back. Don't let me be Hannah trying to remember things. Hold on. We in Leviticus, all of them here. Hold on. Passover. Yeah, see, before I say it out my mouth, let me just read it again. Just make sure I ain't tripping. Okay, I'm looking at Passover. Yahuwah's Passover begins at sundown on the 14th day of the first month. On the next day, the 15th day of the month, you must begin celebrating the festival of unleavened bread. This festival to Yahuwah continues for 7 days, and during that time, the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the first day of the festival, all the people must stop their ordinary work and observe an official day for Holy Assembly. For 7 days, you must present special gifts to Yahuwah. On the seventh day, the people must again stop all their ordinary work and observe an official day for Holy Assembly. Right? So it didn't say here that Passover is a Sabbath, but because it's a like an evening feast when it begins. It begins on the evening or sundown on the 14th day, but it doesn't say the 14th day is a Sabbath because the very next day is a Sabbath, which is the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread and the last day of Feast of Unleavened Bread. And let's double check first fruits, y'all. Let me just read it out loud. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you enter the land I am giving you, and you harvest its first crops, bring the priest a bundle of grain from the first cutting of your grain harvest. On the day after the Sabbath, the priest will lift it up before Yahuwah so it may be accepted on your behalf. On that same day, you must sacrifice a 1-year-old male lamb with no defects as a burnt offering. With it, you must present a grain offering consisting of 4 quarts of choice flour, moistened with olive oil. It will be a special gift, a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. You must also offer 1 quart of wine as a liquid offering. Do not eat any bread or roasted grain or fresh kernels on that day until you bring this offering to your God. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation wherever you live. Okay, so it doesn't say the first fruits is a Sabbath because I think it could be a Sabbath because it could fall on a Sabbath, the day of first fruits. It just depends on when you harvest your crops. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Not the spring, the fall feast days, you have like way more days off. Yeah. So the long feasts are always the first and the last day ending. The first day starting it and the last day ending it is always a Sabbath. Then you have the Day of Atonement, which is a few days after the Feast of Trumpets. So the Feast of Trumpets, the first day of the seventh month. Then you got the 10th day of the seventh month, which begins on the evening of the ninth. So that's 2 days. And then 5 days later, you got Sukkot beginning the first day. That's the third day. And then at the end of Sukkot, you got another day off. So that's 4 days that you need to take off within like that same week too. Well, it'll be within like a 2-week period that you have to take off, right? If you work for somebody else. If you work for yourself, you can just schedule your own self off. But yeah, so you're right. Then the Feast of Trumpets is a Sabbath. Passover, it doesn't specify that it is the very next day, which would be the 15th day, because Passover is the 14th day. But some people do. Like I said, if they can create their schedule ahead of time, they will. Let's see. That's what I was asking, because I recall you saying all feasts fall on Sabbaths. Like Day of Atonement is not on the Sabbath, like an official Sabbath day, but it is a Sabbath. You just gotta look at it and write it down. Like after you write it down and look at it, it should, because hold on. I got my I would have to look at it, but it's gonna kill Facebook if I do that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at it, and then let's see where you gotta. Okay, let's see. Sukkot has Sabbath. Bless your day. Sukkot has Sabbath days too on the 1st and the 8th, so you have 3 days off plus the regular Sabbath. That's a lot of days off. Wonder why that is. Why would y'all want us to be off so much during this time? To rest, you got to realize, before Yahuwah's people were scattered, we weren't working for anybody else. We weren't living in their nation. So our entire nation observed this, and everybody was off. Nobody was going to get fired because they ain't show up to work, because nobody's places of business were open, right? The entire nation observed this. Like, it was just, oh, well, we off. We get, yay, we looking forward to the feast. The fall feast days, because we get extra days off to rest, right? So that's the way I look at it, you know. But while we're living in another nation, or another nation has come to rule us, and we work for them, you know, kind of different rules apply. They don't, but they do. If some people just, this is just the reality of some people. Like, you have to make a choice, especially if you work for somebody else, and the choice you make about being Yah may cause you to lose your job from an employer who doesn't observe Yahuwah's feast days, right? So those are the issues we run into, right? We got to prepare for it. We have to be well aware of it. Some people, they have bosses that are, okay, well, whatever, just let me know ahead of time, schedule it off, and take vacation days, you know. The weather is different, planning is different. Yeah, it is because you're in different places, right? And you're right. The weather is different, so sometimes the first fruits fall on different days for different people wherever they're at. Everybody's not harvesting their first fruits on the same day, right? You're definitely not harvesting your first fruits here in America on the day that Jerusalem is, right? Because their weather is a little more warm all year round, to whereas we got the colder seasons to deal with here. And sometime, you know, here in Virginia, sometime when it's supposed to be warm, it might still be cold, you know. The frost may still be coming. All those different things we have to take into consideration, which is why I don't know, but which is why I believe first fruits doesn't have a date attached to it. It just says first fruits. Yeah, best times to stay put. Yeah, so Yeah, so we all still trying to figure this out together. But I'm glad you brought that up, Dana. Thank you. Because I would have been here anyway. But I'm glad you said it so we could announce it. Yes. Feast of Trumpets, y'all, is a Sabbath day. If I said anything different, forgive me. It is a Sabbath day. And if it's too late for you to take it off, if you have to put in time, forgive me. May Yahuwah give you peace. Right? If you got oh, you already did? Okay. I was just checking, sis. Okay. May Yahuwah give you peace where you don't have to work as hard on the day if you have to show up to it. All right, y'all. Hold on. I can't even see YouTube. Hold on. I don't know if somebody said something. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Everybody was saying something. Hold on. Okay. Somebody spotted in Hawaii. Girl, give me this. Okay. Yahusha said Brother Jonathan spotted in Hawaii. Okay. They got a link or something. I want to check it out. Share your link. Bella, stop. Leave it alone. Okay. Shalom, Demi. Okay. Last year it fell on the Sabbath. Yep, it did. Shalom, Lisa. Mom, shalom, shalom. Complete. The word complete is where the scripture is that the scripture at. Dream Sky Lover. Shalom. Mariah. Yeah. She said she can't take time off because we had Monday off. Yeah, so we kind of running those issues with, living in a foreign nation. Yeah. But okay, y'all. Let's go ahead and get started. I ain't did the show. 6. We're going to be here for a little while. So you might want to get out. You want to get out and you'll sit here and stand to the camera. Okay, y'all. The Shema. It's found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the mighty one of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah. Girl, don't do that. Oh, you just run your fingers across. Okay. And you shall love Yahuwah, your mighty one, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. Okay, y'all. Let's move this. Now I gotta pull my calendars back up and go through and scroll over stuff. Hold on. Okay, where we at Joel today. Did I get a date? Y'all, it is Wednesday. I started running my mouth. Okay, it is Wednesday, September the 8th, 2021. Day 254 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count is day 923. Today we're reading Joel 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to pick up where we left off at yesterday in Caesar's Messiah, chapter 4 on page 90. Okay, Joel. That's not it. Yahuwah gave this message to Joel, the son of Pethuel, mourning over the locust plague. Hear this, you leaders of the people. Listen, all who live in the land. In all your history, has anything like this happened before? Tell your children about it in the years to come, and let your children tell their children. Pass the story down from generation to generation. After the cutting locusts finished eating the crops, the swarming locusts took what was left. After them came the hopping locusts, then the stripping locusts too. Hold on, y'all. You see? 1, I knew I did something wrong. Hold on. I knew I had already read that. Hold on, y'all. Tootie, you gotta hop down.
Why?
Because I said so, that's why. I knew it. It wasn't Joel. I typed in Joel. It's Jonah, y'all. He Jonah. Hold on. Jonah. I knew I had already read that. Okay. Y'all ain't catch me. Y'all ain't catch me. I'm sorry. Okay. Jonah chapter 1. Jonah runs from Yahuwah. Yahuwah gave this message to Jonah, son of Amittai. Get up and go to the great city of Nineveh. Announce my judgment against it, because I have seen how wicked its people are. But Jonah got up and went in the opposite direction to get away from Yahuwah. He went down to the port of Joppa, where he found a ship leaving for Tarshish. He bought a ticket and went on board, hoping to escape from Yahuwah by sailing to Tarshish. But Yahuwah hurled a powerful wind over the sea, causing a violent storm that threatened to break the ship apart. Fearing for their lives, the desperate sailors shouted to their gods for help and threw the cargo overboard to lighten the ship. But all this time, Jonah was sound asleep down in the hold, so the captain went down after him. How can you sleep at a time like this? He shouted. Get up and pray to your God. Maybe he will pay attention to us and spare our lives. Then the crew cast lots to see which of them had offended the gods and caused a terrible storm. When they did this, the lots identified Jonah as the culprit. Why has this awful storm come down on us? They demanded. Who are you? What is your line of work? What country do you come from? What is your nationality? And Jonah answered, I am a Hebrew, and I worship Yahuwah, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land. The sailors were terrified when they heard this, for he had already told them he was running away from Yahuwah. Oh, why did you do it? They groaned. And since the storm was getting worse all the time, they asked him, what should we do to you to stop this storm? Throw me into the sea, Jonah said, and it will become calm again. I know that this terrible storm is all my fault. Instead, the sailors rowed even harder to get the ship to land, but the stormy sea was too violent for them.
This is like the skin coming off.
Okay, Tootie, quit drawing on yourself.
I like it.
Hold on. But the stormy sea was too violent for them, and they couldn't make it. Then they cried out to Yahuwah, Jonah's God. Oh Lord, they pleaded, don't make us die for this man's sins, and don't hold us responsible for his death. O Lord, you have sent this storm upon him for your own good reasons. Then the sailors picked Jonah up and threw him into the raging sea, and the storm stopped at once. The sailors were awestruck by Yahuwah's great power, and they offered him a sacrifice and vowed to serve him. Now Yahuwah had arranged for a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Jonah, chapter 2. Then Jonah prayed to Yahuwah, his God, from inside the fish. He said, I cried out to Yahuwah in my great trouble, and he answered me. I called to you from the land of the dead, and Yahuwah, you heard me. Yes, when I do this, that means, wait a minute, okay? You may not have really known that what that meant, but yes.
You be done. I can end this and this.
Yes, Tootie. We got a while, though, okay? I called to you from the land of the dead, and Yahuwah, you heard me. You threw me into the ocean depths, and I sank down to the heart of the sea. The mighty waters engulfed me. I was buried beneath your wild and stormy waves. Then I said, O Lord, you have driven me from your presence, yet I will look once more toward your holy temple. I sank beneath the waves, and the waters closed over me. Seaweed wrapped itself around my head, and I sank down to the very roots of the mountains. I was imprisoned in the earth, whose gates locked shut forever. But you, O my God, snatched me from the jaws of death. As my life was slipping away, I remembered Yahuwah, and my earnest prayer went out to you in your holy temple. Those who worship false gods turn their backs on all God's mercies. But I will offer sacrifices to you with songs of praise, and I will fulfill my vows, for my salvation comes from Yahuwah alone. Then Yahuwah ordered the fish to spit Jonah out onto the beach. All right, y'all, Jonah chapter 3. Jonah goes to Nineveh. Then Yahuwah spoke to Jonah a second time. Get up and go to the great city of Nineveh and deliver the message I have given you. This time, Jonah obeyed Yahuwah's command and went to Nineveh, a city so large that it took 3 days to see it all. On the day Jonah entered the city, he shouted to the crowds, 40 days from now, Nineveh will be destroyed. The people of Nineveh believed Yahuwah's message, and from the greatest to the least, they declared a fast and put on burlap to show their sorrow. When the king of Nineveh heard what Jonah was saying, he stepped down from his throne and took off his royal robes. He dressed himself in burlap and sat on a heap of ashes. Then the king and his nobles sent this decree throughout the city. No one, not even the animals from your herds and flocks, may eat or drink anything at all. People and animals alike must wear garments of mourning, and everyone must pray earnestly to God. They must turn from their evil ways and stop all their violence. Who can tell? Perhaps even yet Yahuwah would change his mind and hold back his fierce anger from destroying us. When Yahuwah saw what they had done and how they had put a stop to their evil ways, he changed his mind and did not carry out the destruction he had threatened. Let me read 4, because it's the last chapter of Jonah, and it's only 10 verses. So last chapter for today, Jonah chapter 4. Jonah's anger at Yahuwah's mercy. This change of plans greatly upset Jonah, and he became very angry. So he complained to Yahuwah about it. Didn't I say before I left home you would do this, Yah? That is why I ran away to Tarshish. I knew that you are a merciful and compassionate God, slow to get angry and filled with unfailing love. You are eager to turn back from destroying people. Just kill me now, Yah. I'd rather be dead than alive if what I predicted will not happen. Then Yahuwah replied, is it right for you to be angry about this? Now, let me say something. If you guys were here while we were reading Legends of the Jews, not Wars of the Jews, Legends of the Jews, it goes into more detail about the story of Jonah and why he was running, right? And it didn't have to do with him not wanting Yahuwah to show mercy to Nineveh and its people, right? But they were really hard on prophets. So if a prophet came to a place and they said something or they prophesied something and it didn't come to pass when they said it was going to, they found that prophet and they stoned that prophet to death for being a false prophet. Now, Yahuwah had indeed told Jonah to go to Nineveh to warn them, but he didn't want to prophesy to them and tell them what Yahuwah had said, i.e., Nineveh will be destroyed in 40 days. Nineveh will be overthrown in 40 days, right? And he said, look, I ain't going, because I know you're forgiving, your love is everlasting, and it's unfailing. And I'm about to go tell these people that Nineveh is about to be overthrown. Then, if they repent, then I'm going to look like a false prophet, and you're not going to do what you said. And then they're going to come look for me and going to want to stone me to death. So if you read through that portion, thanks, Trina. If you read through that portion, you will get the details, and this begins to make a little more sense on why Jonah went on a run. So if you get a chance, let me see. I'm not going to read it today, but I will put the reference so you can go read it, the online version of it. Okay. I'll put that in there. And you're going to read the full account and the details. And it goes into all that detail about that. So it'll add to your learning. So Jonah didn't just wake up and decide, I ain't going to obey you, y'all, today. There was a whole principle thing that was going on behind the scenes. And he didn't want to be looked at like he was a false prophet, because he knew Yahuwah was going to turn away from his wrath, right? Okay. And it also tells you who this king was, right? It tells you that this king was the same king from Egypt, right? Now, some versions, here's where it kind of haven't really connected it yet, because some places you read, it says when the plagues and stuff happened with Egypt, and when the Egyptians were drowned, that Pharaoh was drowned in the sea with his men. But other places say that Pharaoh actually lived, and Yahuwah actually transported him to a place far away from Egypt, right? And he was in another land. And this land, from, I believe it was the Legends of the Jews. Don't quote me. I believe it was the Legends of the Jews in another place. And I'm going to try and find it. Pharaoh. Or it could have, it was Legends of the Jews, or maybe it was Jasher. Hold on, let me check Jasher. And another place that I read. Okay, but it says that Yahuwah immediately transported him to another place, right? And Nineveh was that place. So which is why the king here in Nineveh, you reading it, it seemed like when he first heard Jonah say, listen, this city is going to be overthrown in 40 days, it seemed like the king immediately said, oh, everybody stop eating. We fasting. Nobody let any food come to their mouth. It seemed like, okay, so if Nineveh was so bad, but the first time Jonah opened his mouth and said, look, this place is going to be overthrown in 40 days, like he really didn't have to repeat it for real. It seemed that the king's heart, the king who was the king of Nineveh at the time, it seemed that his heart was already pliable. So why would you even have to go in this manner to this particular place if they were going to repent, right? Like the first time Jonah said it, it made me begin to think. I'm like, man, this king didn't seem like a really harsh king. They just really seemed like they were ignorant. I'm like, oh, was doing it wrong. Oh my gosh. But what happened was this king already knew about Yah. He had already heard about his fame throughout the land and what he did for his people, right? Which is why for that period of time, and Nineveh was eventually destroyed, but not at that time, not during Jonah's day, right? They never saw it in Jonah's day. But they were eventually destroyed, because after this particular generation that repented and they began doing what was right, after they died out, it was another generation of people that came, and they went back to some of that same foolishness. And during this time, and we'll see later on, and I think you'll read it you'll read that in Jasher Jubilees. Don't quote me. I don't remember exactly which one, but you will see where Nineveh was eventually destroyed. Right, so I'll pull up those references if you care to read it anymore to get the deeper story. Then it makes the book of Jonah make sense a whole lot more. Right, okay. Jerry, shalom. You're welcome. Okay. Yahuwah replied, is it right for you to be angry about this? Let me go back. Let me just go back. I was on that verse 4. This change of plans greatly upset Jonah, and he became very angry. So he complained to Yahuwah about it. Didn't I say before I left home that you would do this, Yah? That is why I ran away to Tarshish. I knew that you are a merciful and compassionate God, slow to get angry and filled with unfailing love. You are eager to turn back from destroying people. Just kill me now, Yah. I'd rather be dead than alive if what I predict will not happen. Then Yahuwah replied, and it's going to make 100% sense, right? Okay. Then Yahuwah replied, is it right for you to be angry about this? Then Jonah went out to the east side of the city and made a shelter to sit under as he waited to see what would happen to the city. And Yahuwah arranged for a leafy plant to grow there. And as soon as it spread broad its leaves over Jonah's head, And Yahuwah arranged for a leafy plant to grow there, and soon it spread its broad leaves over Jonah's head, shading him from the sun. This eased his discomfort, and Jonah was very grateful for the plant. But Yahuwah also arranged for a worm. The next morning at dawn, the worm ate through the stem of the plant so that it withered away. And as the sun grew hot, Yahuwah arranged for a scorching east wind to blow on Jonah. The sun beat down on his head until he grew faint and wished to die. Death is certainly better than living like this, he exclaimed. Then Yahuwah said to Jonah, is it right for you to be angry because the plant died? Yes, Jonah retorted, even angry enough to die. Then Yahuwah said, you feel sorry about the plant, though you did nothing to put it there. It came quickly and died quickly. But Nineveh has more than 120,000 people living in spiritual darkness, not to mention all the animals. Shouldn't I feel sorry for such great a city? And that is the end of the book of Jonah, at least for here. You got to go fill it in with all the other places. Like I said, I'll put the references for you if you care to go back and read it at any later time, right? Okay, so where we at? We are at 34 minutes. All right. Oh, yeah, I saw you, Trina. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I forget. Sometimes it's brighter to y'all from what y'all see than what I see from my end. Sometimes it just looks like my kitchen is a little lighter. But when you say that it's like shining, if it's shining too bright, y'all just say something if I haven't closed it. Sometimes I'll remember. Other times it just seems like it's really bright in here and I can see clearer. But to you, I guess it's, well, when I go back and watch the video, I can see that it is really bright and it's blacking out. Noble, good morning. Okay. So on page 90, we left off down here at this chart. But let me go back up to this paragraph above it, just in case you weren't here yesterday, while it explains this chart we're about to read. Okay. Studying these parallels, the parallels between Jesus and Titus, right? Okay. Showing that what Jesus did in the New Testament followed exactly to the T what happened during Titus's campaign, right? Okay. Studying these parallels, I realized that there was a larger implication to what I had discovered. The reader will recall the parallel beginnings to the ministries of Titus and Jesus. That is, both were followed by fishers of men. The conclusions of Titus's and Jesus' stints in Judea are also conceptually parallel. When I looked at the relative placements of the Gadara and the son of Mary whose flesh was eaten and the 3 crucified, 1 survived parallels, I found that those 2 occurred in the same sequence. Thus, the New Testament satires of events from wars of the Jews were not haphazardly sequenced as I had originally assumed, but were placed in the same sequence as the events they satirized. In other words, the entire outline of Jesus' ministry, as recorded within the New Testament, was designed as a typological prophecy of Titus's campaign throughout Judea. For clarification, I present the following table of the 5 conceptual parallels in sequence shown thus far. And you'll see, if you got the book, you will see a chart. So I'm going to read it, from left to right. On the left side is Jesus' ministry, and on the right side is Titus's campaign. Okay. First one. Jesus began ministry at Gennesareth and says, "Follow me and become fishers of men." Titus's campaign. Titus begins campaign at Gennesareth, where his soldiers follow him and fish for men. Y'all remember that story, right? How they even got into the water. The whole story about the pigs and everything in the New Testament, where they cast out the demon out of the legion and they went off the cliff and into the sea. But over in Titus's campaign, remember, Josephus were referring to the Hebrews or the Jews as demons and pigs, like all manner of filthy things. He referred to the Hebrews as demons. So when they talk about demoniacs and stuff like that, they're referring not necessarily to dark entities in another realm. They're actually referring to the Hebrew people. Okay. All right. So that was that. And when they fished for men, it was the men who when they saw that they were going to be overpowered by Rome, the Hebrews, and when they saw that Rome was too much for them, and they had already begun losing men, they chose to jump off the cliff instead of standing there to fight. They were going to slaughter them anyway. So they would rather die by the sea than die by the hands of Romans. So they themselves jumped en masse. They jumped off the cliff, and eventually they perished. They eventually drowned because they couldn't keep up their strength with the water and stuff down there. There was nothing really. It was literally out to sea. There was nothing down there. So they all end up perishing, right? And bodies were floating everywhere. But if you missed while we're explaining that, I believe that was day before, well, the last day, if you go back to the videos, day before yesterday, but it's a Sabbath in between there, so, like, one of the days on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, I believe we read that. Check it out if you missed it, or if you got the book, you just go back and read it, right? Okay, Jesus' ministry. At Gadara, encounters a legion inside of one man that affects a group that runs violently, right? And it's talking about it here. Titus's campaign describes one head whose wickedness unleashes a legion of demons that infects another group that runs wildly, which is what I just explained, right? Swine in Jesus' campaign, swine run wildly and 2,000 drown. In Titus's campaign at Gadara, a prodigious number drown and 2,000 of the demons are taken prisoners. So the ones that didn't jump, of the Hebrews that actually drowned when they jumped off the cliff, the ones who didn't jump were captured. And some who were going to jump were captured before they jumped, and they were taken as prisoners, okay? In Jesus' ministry at Jerusalem, the Son of Mary offers his flesh to be eaten. Eat my flesh and drink my blood, the whole communion thing, right? In Titus's campaign at Jerusalem describes a Son of Mary whose flesh is eaten. If you missed that, there was a woman named Mary during Titus's campaign. When they was running roughshod, they was taking Jerusalem, where she actually, instead of giving up her child for the slaughter, she actually murdered her. Didn't say she murdered, but she had to eat him. Anyway, she killed her son, and she cooked him, right? And then she presented, when the Romans came in to take them, she presented her son to them as a meal. And they say even the Romans were appalled. They had seen nothing of the sort ever done, right? It's how do you sicken a Roman? It sickened the Romans, and they left out of there and left her alone. Like, sheesh, yo. Okay. Listen. Can you please ask you, is the King James Bible, which we only use over here, the correct Bible to read from? Thank you. Here's what I would say. Right? Because, well, that's me. I got a lot of different Bibles and a lot of different versions because I do a lot of different research. But if you want one that you can just stick to, I would say, okay, with saying that, if you understand that all the Bibles have leaven in them, and some of them will give a wrong interpretation due to the modernized language of it. If you know how to go back and double check, if you know how to go to the original language, or at least do the etymology, get a concordance, or if you know how to go back to find the original meaning, the original scripture, then I would say you can use any Bible you want because you know how to do that. And if you happen to come across an issue or something that you think is not quite lining up, you know how to get back to the original meaning. They all have their flaws. And I wouldn't say, some people may argue with me, I personally wouldn't say the King James Bible is the best version. That's my opinion. A lot of people believe that it is, and that's okay. That's why I said, as long as you know how to research, and you know how to do proper etymology of the scriptures and the words, and making sure you're keeping everything within its context, precept upon precept, line upon line, or using your chain references, you can use whatever Bible you want to. Yeah, you're right, Mick. Yeah, King James, they do. It has a lot of changes, but from a researcher standpoint, I think you can use any you want to, as long as you know how
Mom.
You know how to kind of
Mom.
get through the weeds and
I was to write something the other day.
Okay. So that is your choice, right? Everybody grows differently. Everybody's level of understanding and comprehension is a little bit different. Now, when I first started reading the Bible, I couldn't get through the King James Version. Not because any big reason, but it was because... Yes,
I show Zay my tattoos.
Okay. It was really only because it was throwing me off with the language, the thus thou arts and, saith and all that stuff, right? And I was a teenager. So I put the King James Version away and I went to the NIV. Now, for a few years, I used the NIV, but I found that the more I read it, the more I kind of got familiar with some of the verses. So I actually kind of started going back to the King James Version. And when I did, I don't know, my understanding, just maybe my maturity level had matured to a place where the thus thou arts didn't really frustrate me anymore, and I was okay with it. But for a period of time, I did put away the King James, and at that time, I wasn't like studying like I study and research now. Like I was literally just a kid, 19 years old, just picking it up, reading, I can't, whatever, give me another Bible that speaks my lingo today. And that's okay if you have to do that until you grow a little bit. Not saying that you're not grown, but you get what I'm saying. Whichever one is, like I said, as long as you don't have to be a deep researcher, as long as you know how to just check some basic stuff, you can. I would say that's what I would say. Other people say you can only use the authorized King James Version. Every other version is they all been screwed with, y'all. If you understand that, you just take it down a notch and do what you know to do. That's what I would say, Jerry.
Mom.
So, yes, baby.
Y'all done?
No, almost. Okay. All right, so this last...
6 minutes?
No, Tootie, we got like 20 minutes left. But I need you to get off my leg because you're pushing this, and I think that's going to fall over. Sit over here. Okay, y'all. Okay, so number 5 on the chart. In Jesus' ministry, Jesus foresees a martyr's death for Simon at Rome, but spares John at conclusion of ministry. And in Titus's campaign, Titus sends Simon to a martyr's death at Rome, but spares John at conclusion of campaign. All right, page 91. The Gospels stories concerning fishing for men, a legion of demons coming out of one man to infect many, a human Passover lamb, 3 crucified, 1 survives, and a conclusion where Simon is condemned and John spared can be seen as satirizing, remember satire or satirizing, very few works of literature. It is, therefore, quite implausible that the New Testament describes, by chance, so many episodes that can be seen as satirizing the events in a single book. While it is possible to argue that each New Testament episode that appears to satirize an event in Wars of the Jews does so accidentally, if that were the case, these accidents would occur in a random sequence and at random locations. It was not required that Jesus use the expression fishers of men while standing on the beach at Gennesaret, any more than it was required that he met a demoniac at Gadara. Nor was it necessary for him to offer his flesh at Jerusalem or to condemn Simon but spare John at the conclusion of his ministry. The fact that these 5 events occur in the New Testament in the same sequence as their parallel events in the Wars of the Jews strongly supports the contention that one work was created with the other in mind. Therefore, the parallel sequences, concepts, and locations make the author's intent clear. In the same way that they showed the first Savior of Israel, Moses, to have been the type for Jesus, the second Savior of Israel through their parallel infancy experiences, they also prove that Titus is the last and greatest Savior because Jesus' ministry is the type for Titus's campaign through Judea. Finally, the parallel sequences of Jesus and Titus's ministries must be considered in the context of their historical overlaps. As I noted above, Jesus predicted that a Son of God would come to Judea before the generation that crucified him had passed away, then encircle Jerusalem with a wall and destroy the temple. Titus is the only individual in history who can be seen as having fulfilled these prophecies. Such a combination of historical singularities could not occur by chance. So remember, this had already happened in Judea with Titus. So when they created the New Testament, because these things had already happened, Josiah, shalom. Because these things had already happened while the New Testament was being written, they took those events that had happened in Titus's campaign and they worked them into the New Testament and used what Jesus said in his life to identify these things that had already happened. So there were no prophecies, right? What he said out of his mouth, none of that was a prophecy at all. They were playing off of what had happened during Titus's campaign. And it lined up perfectly because they copied what he did and they put it in his words and they put it in prophecy form, right? All this stuff had already happened. You got to remember, they're made up characters, right? Some of them were not. Some of them were real people. But some of the people in the New Testament are actually fictitious characters that never, ever lived. You cannot find any proof of them living life other than from the documents and literature that Josephus and the Piso families had written themselves. Nowhere else will you find any kind of information showing that they actually lived on this earth. Okay. Such a combination of historical singularities could not occur by chance. This is self-evident, and the only plausible explanation for the similar storylines is that these parts of Jesus' ministry were deliberately created to parallel Titus's campaign through Judea. I will demonstrate this beyond any doubt in the next chapter. History has shown, of course, that the parallels between the two sons of God are not easy to see. Within the Flavian court, however, where foreign cults in Rome were carefully scrutinized and knowledge of Titus's exploits was common, those responsible for overseeing the empire's religions would have recognized the satirical parallels between Jesus and Titus and seen them as cuttingly humorous. The purpose of these parallels, moreover, was not merely to create an amusing satire for patricians. I will show in the following chapter that the authors of the New Testament used parallelism to create a story entirely different from the one that appears on its surface, a story that reveals the hidden identity of the Jesus who interacts with the disciples at the conclusion of the Gospels. Furthermore, understanding that Jesus' ministry shares a parallel storyline and characters with Titus's campaign creates a new way to understand the New Testament. Simply moving the events of Jesus' ministry forward 40 years in time and comparing them to the events of Titus's campaign reveals their satirical meaning. For example, whoever puts Jesus' prophecy about the fate of Simon and John at the conclusion of the Gospel of John did so solely to have the conclusion of the Gospels ironically mirror the end of Titus's campaign. The discussion between Jesus and Simon could have occurred at any time during Jesus' ministry, or had been recorded in any of the other Gospels, or not been included at all, since it contains no importance to theological ideas. Another example that this method reveals is the satirical basis for Simon's nickname Peter, which in Greek is Petros, meaning rock or stone. It is a derisive joke relating to Josephus' description of the circumstance of the real Simon's capture. As stated above, in trying to escape Roman-occupied Jerusalem, Simon fled into a subterranean cavern with a group of stonecutters and attempted to dig and that's funny. I just got it. Why they called Simon Peter the Rock. Let me go back. Another example that this method reveals is the satirical basis for Simon's nickname Peter, which in Greek is Petros, meaning rock or stone. It is a derisive joke relating to Josephus's description of the circumstance of the real Simon's capture. As stated above, in trying to escape Roman-occupied Jerusalem, Simon fled into a subterranean cavern with a group of stonecutters and attempted to dig an escape passage. Unable to carve through rock and out of food, he was forced to surrender. He did so in an extraordinary fashion. Josephus writes, quote, Simon, thinking he might be able to astonish and elude the Romans, put on a white frock and buttoned upon himself a purple cloak and appeared out of the ground in the place where the temple had formerly been, end quote. And that's reference 81. You can find out exactly where that is in the Wars of the Jews back here in the index. The humor is dark and subtle. The ironic logic of the New Testament's Simon's nickname Stone satirizes Josephus's depiction of Simon being captured with a group of stone cutters who, of course, cut stone. As he came out of the ground in the place where the temple had formerly been, he was therefore the first stone upon which the new temple Christianity was to be built. Once again, though Jesus appears to have spoken metaphorically when he tells Simon that he is the stone upon which he will build a new church that will replace Judaism, Josephus records an event showing another sardonic meaning to Jesus' words. Quote, and I declare to you that you are Peter, and upon this stone I will build my church, end quote. And that's found in Matthew chapter 16, verse 18. The depiction of Simon coming out of a cavern that is a tomb and contains a group of stonecutters also provides satirical confirmation of the premise that Simon the Apostle and the demoniac of Gadara were both lampoons of Simon, the leader of the Jewish rebellion. This is because the wry humor regarding stonecutters creates a parallel between the demoniac of Gadara, who was cutting himself with stones, and the rebel leader Simon. And since the passages are parallel, the unnamed character in one would have the same name as his name type in the other. In this case, Simon is the name of In this case, Simon is the name of one of the demoniacs of Gadara. Understanding this simple point of logic enables a reader to learn the names of many of the unnamed characters in the New Testament and Wars of the Jews and the real identity of Jesus. So they doing a play on words. You know how somebody can talk about somebody without saying that person's name, but because everybody is familiar with the sequence and the life of this unnamed person, everybody knows who this unnamed person is, although this unnamed person isn't described by their name. This is what's going on. Everybody was familiar with what happened. Well, at least those in Rome. Rome understood this. So the New Testament, when they made it, it was a complete spoof of Titus's campaign. Y'all know how it was lit. The New Testament is like the Saturday Night Live of the era during Titus's campaign. This is exactly what it was. You know how Saturday Night Live spoofs everything. The presidency, things that happen all across the world. But because we know, like, they can use different names. They don't have to give the names of the people. Matter of fact, it might be slander if they use the names of the people. And sometimes they do. They may have a little bit of leeway, right? Because they know everybody here in America and pretty much all across the world now knows that Saturday is the same thing that was happening with the New Testament during that time. Everybody knows Saturday Night Live. Sometimes we just hear the name Saturday Night Live, it invokes you to laugh, because we know that it's a satirical TV, sitcom, show, series, whatever you want to call it, of this world's real life serious events, right? They take the events of our day and kind of add the, not kind of, they add the humor to it. And everybody nobody who lives in our generation will watch Saturday Night Live and get mad and pissed off because of all of this. Everybody watches Saturday Night Live to laugh at what's going on, to get a break, right? Or some people watch it just to see them make fun of other people. But nobody takes Saturday Night Live seriously, because we know it is a parody of real life events. That's exactly what the New Testament is. It's a parody of real life events that happened during Titus's campaign. And everybody alive during Titus's campaign understood that. But when that generation died out, for some reason, they got split up, because the New Testament was read alongside with Wars of the Jews. Like they knew it, right? If you want to get a good laugh, give me a copy of that New Testament, right? Because it followed. And that's what he's explaining. It's following the same sequence of events from the beginning all the way to the end. He said this is, if it wasn't satirical, and with all the other proof and stuff that we're going to show and that we're still going to get into, it wouldn't follow the same exact storyline to the T, even giving you some of the same names, but some of the names they don't give you, but they tell you about the events surrounding this person's life. So those that are familiar with this real person understand, oh, they talking about John. They ain't say his name. Wait, Tootie. But they talking about, yes, Bella. Yes, wait a minute, sis. We talk about this every day. You know we're going to start. Hold on, wait. They know this is John. Everybody familiar with these events that John did and all this stuff. Although they didn't say his name, we know you're talking about John, right? You got certain relatives where you ain't got to say their name. You can just mention an event that involves them. And if everybody in that room with family was present when it happened, everybody know exactly who you talking about. We don't need to say their name. Everybody know who we talking about, right? Same exact thing. That's what he's trying. Oh my gosh. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. Hold on. I gotta text my husband. Just sent a message. Hold on. We need an hour anyway. Hold on. Let's just go ahead and end this here, cause I have to do something. Okay, we gotta go. All right, y'all. I'm sorry. We at an hour already anyway. We'll pick this back up. We're watching for the new moon. If the new moon shows tonight, then it will be the Feast of Trumpets, and it will be a Sabbath, so that would mean we would not be here tomorrow. Thank you, Dana, for the clarification earlier. But then we'll be back. Oh, yeah. Then we would be back Friday. So, with that being said, beautiful people, I hope you enjoyed the reading for today. We read Jonah 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'll make an update. Like, I can do updates on Facebook, but I can't necessarily do the post yet on YouTube where people can do, like, posts. I don't have enough subscribers yet to do that. But I will pin the stuff that I said down in the comment section. And as I find out, I guess you can come back to the video later it's going to be after the sun goes down, if we spot it or if it's called. And then I'll just update. I'll put update, new moon was spotted. We will not be here tomorrow. Or if y'all see me show up, that means it wasn't spotted anywhere. But somebody said earlier that Jonathan, spotted it in Hawaii. I haven't seen that report. So if y'all have links or reports where people have seen it, because when we don't see it here, we start looking in other places. Like I keep some sites that are good about posting. I'll share those sites too, just in case you didn't get them last time I shared them. Excuse me. I'll put them down in the comment section. And that way you can just have them for reference. Let me see if I can put one in here now for y'all. Okay. I have to go to my new moon sightings notes. Okay. Boom. Copy this. See if I can paste them here. Paste. All right, I just pasted it in the comment section of Facebook and for YouTube, y'all, I think this might be too long. That's definitely too long. Okay, so let's see if we can remove this bottom portion of it. I'll just make a couple. So make a couple posts. Okay, so there's one of them. I know because some people they never make it back to get the update, so I'll just post them here. Okay, I got 4 of them. I'm putting all 4 over here in the YouTube chat box, so you got them. So click on them and save them, y'all. But I'm also going to pin them in the description box today. Hold on. And then I got to go. So we're going to be looking. Y'all, we all learning together. It's great to have people actively watching and doing some of the stuff. We can chat about it. We can share our resources and what we found out. Okay. And even if you just started and you don't think you have a lot to contribute because you're just, hey, still share with us your experiences and what you find out, because some people do. And it's really helpful, because sometimes new people, like I've been doing it now for a few years, right? So some things I will overlook and I will miss. Not on purpose, but sometimes got a one-track mind and I'm looking at a certain place where I'll miss stuff, which is why I like to talk to my sister and my mom a lot. And my sister, not that I don't like to talk to my mama, but my sister more so because she's kind of like more active and doing some of this stuff, looking, and she's really familiar because we just kind of been together from the beginning doing this. So sometimes when I find something, I find it that sometimes if I keep it all in my head and I don't like voice it out loud, sometimes it seems incoherent, right? So my sister is a good one to kind of bounce that off of. But sometimes when I actually say it out of my mouth, like, wait a minute, hold on. That didn't make sense. And not like what I understood it in my head. So I have to find ways to make sure I'm explaining it the way I can see it in my head. And to make sure what I'm seeing in my head is coherent, it's understandable, and it's logical, right? But sometimes I'll also find out that I'm missing a piece of information. And my sister will be like, well, wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, okay, but did you think about this? Oh, you're right. Oh, that makes a big difference. You're right. I didn't think about that. Right? So even if you just now started, share with us because it helps all of us grow. Right? Okay. All right, y'all. I got to go. Let's do the blessing real quick. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. Man or woman can take it. All right. Like I said, y'all, it's not an emergency, but it's a business emergency, So we run our own business, and there's some things that absolutely must be done. And my husband forgot something this morning. Okay. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. That is it. Like I said, I'll get the stuff posted for y'all in a little while. Come back in a couple hours or so. I got to get some stuff done. All right, we'll be watching. If we see it, somebody else see it, and it's been verified in more than one place, then we're going to go with the sighting date if we can't see it where we're at, right? Okay, so with that being said, if we spot it tonight, we won't be here tomorrow. But if we don't spot it tonight, we will be here tomorrow. With that being said, gotta go. Love y'all. Peace.